Okay, let's see. I will thank everybody so much for coming and for allowing me to do this. This has been a real joy to get to do the book, and it's a real joy to get to give you all more information about the book and the program. I wish we could be together in reality, but that doesn't happen right now, but maybe in the future we'll be able to do that. I am Pam Shucker and the author of the new book, About Greenville and the Carolina Blue Ridge. And this was created with Bill Robertson. And as Dan said, we're both local Greenvillians, and we have had a long time together. Many of you already know Bill because Bill is a nature photographer for more than 2 decades here in the Carolinas, and particularly in Greenville. He's also done programs for the South Carolina Native Plant Society. Also, if you've been in the hospital in Greenville, you know Bill's work. It hangs on all the walls in the hospital because the hospitals here have realized that it's a healing quality to be able to see nature photography, and so they have put it up. It's also in a lot of the businesses and homes around Greenville and throughout the Upstate. I laughed because I was in Fairlane Ford recently, and sure enough, hanging on the walls were Bill's pictures. And I laughed and said, well, they must also help sell cars. I'm a certified master naturalist, and I've taught, spoken, and written and advocated for the natural environment my entire life. My sister laughs and says,
4 pair of glasses.
What's that? Okay.
Yeah, we lost you, Pam. Have you started sharing your screen yet?
Yes, I have.
I don't see it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's see. I have it just on it just shows up for me, and my picture's not there anymore. Usually the person's picture is there. Let's see what happened here.
Lower right corner says share.
Of course, yeah, it's not.
Click it.
Okay, there, Seth, I'm seeing you. Now, why am I not seeing? Let's see.
Lower right corner, if you got the share already going.
All right, let's see here. So am I being heard but not seen?
Is that we hear you, but we're not seeing your screen. And I'm seeing everybody's video right now. It just hadn't started sharing the screen for some reason.
All right, let me go back and see.
I can see you.
All right, does that show it? I'm showing share screen. All right, wait, I just found it. I found another button I'm supposed to do. Now is it being seen?
Okay. Yeah, that's
you
better.
Can see it now. All right. So let's see. Okay, now that looks more like it because I'm seeing people and stand. Okay, good. Should I start over, or you heard all that, didn't you?
Well, let me just say one thing. So
okay.
if you have more than Pam on your screen, go right above your video and click a blue box which says show active speaker only, and then that'll have Pam in there as she speaks and then shares her presentation. Okay, back to you, Pam.
All righty. Okay, let's see. Okay, I was showing this one first, so I'll leave that up just a minute. Okay, let's see. I was saying that I am a certified master naturalist, and I think I had not said that my sister, when I was in 3rd grade, says that I bugged her about turning off the water in the when we were brushing our teeth to save water. So I think I can say I've pretty much been this way all my life. And this, of course, is our book. Both Bill and I credit Janie Marlowe with our beautifully artistic book. Janie's exquisite layout, and she took her exquisite layout ability, my words and Bill's photographs, and this is what we ended up with, and we could not have done it without her. She combined it and just did a beautiful job, and we now have this exquisite publication. Bill and I have explored the natural environment together for probably more than 20 years, through mostly the Greenville Natural History Association, as Dan mentioned. This club was started by Dr. Albert Southern, a Furman professor, in 1968. And he would invite people to go on excursions into the natural Blue Ridge Mountains of our area. I think he left a much bigger legacy than he ever dreamed he would, because now the club has introduced thousands of people to the native environment that we enjoy so much here. Bill and I hope through our book, About Greenville and the Carolina Blue Ridge, to contribute to Dr. Southern's beginnings. In our book, we offer some of the things that we have enjoyed, our discoveries. We tell about our thoughts on these things, and then we share the images that Bill has taken of these special places. So now join us as we tell you about some of the tranquil excursions that we have highlighted in our book. Nature rejuvenates. The hectic pace of today's world, dominated by doing, acquiring, building, creating, learning, earning, and discarding, increases the need for quiet pause in beautiful natural surroundings. What many of you who enjoy the outdoors already know has now been statistically proven. In the summer of 2018, Science Daily reported on research that had been done with 290 million people in 20 different countries, including the US. And the conclusive evidence states, we found that spending time in or living close to natural green spaces is associated with diverse and significant health benefits. It reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, premature death, preterm birth, and increases sleep duration. People living closer to nature also have reduced systolic blood pressure, heart rate, and stress. Wandering through peaceful groves of hardwoods and with evergreens and streams gurgling beside us and exquisite wildflowers stretching up to sunlight, these photos and essays capture some of our favorite adventures round about Greenville and the Carolina Blue Ridge. Little did we know that coronavirus was going to enter its ugly head during this period of time, but the out of doors has become the best escape that people have found for being during COVID, since we had to socially distance. And I'm a little bit concerned about winter and seeing what happens to us then, because it's really been a boon to outdoor stores to have things like this during the outdoor experiences during the summertime. We begin our adventure at home. That small southern mill town Bill and I grew up in no longer exists. Greenville's focal emphasis now is downtown and the Reedy River, the river that my family used to joke about as we were getting ready for breakfast in the morning and say, okay, what color is the Reedy going to be today? But recently, Greenville has claimed 2 more accolades. Condé Nast has just ranked Greenville as number 6 on the list of a traveler's best small cities. And in livability.com, Greenville claims spot number 54 out of all the cities in the US as one of the best places to live. Bill's photos capture the new look of the Reedy as it runs through Falls Park on the Reedy and under Liberty Bridge. Such views entice and greet locals and tourists to Greenville. Another very familiar area to us in Greenville is the Rock Quarry Gardens off of McDaniel Avenue. I love the background story of Rock Quarry Gardens. In the 1930s, this Civil War era rock quarry became a renovation project for the Greenville Garden Club, and it won an award from Better Homes and Garden in 1936. But later it was neglected and overgrown, so another rejuvenation project in the 1980s created the beautiful space we have now, which is popular for weddings and receptions. I love the reinvention stories that we find in this amazing location we call home. When the textile industry moved overseas, Greenville reinvented itself into a thriving, modern, mid-sized city, lauded constantly for its many assets. But downtown at Falls Park on the Reedy is great, but just down the river is another recreated asset, Lake Conisty Nature Preserve. The Reedy River collects at the dam of the former Conisty Mill. and considered a Superfund site for years because of the river residue that collected there. Lake Honesty Preserve now has about 100,000 visitors a year who can enjoy the out of doors there and all the plants and animals that are involved. And how many plants and animals, can you imagine, are having their homes there? It's one of the bird locations now that is considered a national bird location spot. Here a bee seeks pollen from a sunflower, brightening Honesty's meadows. Our upstate is blessed with 13 state parks and many county parks. Through 50 years of preservation efforts, first led by Harriet and Tommy White, along with many other conservation-minded citizens and environmental preservation organizations, the upstate enjoys more than 110,000 acres of preserved land along the state borders, our border with Western North Carolina and our border with Georgia. From Sumter National Forest on the western edge of South Carolina through the Blue Ridge Preserve around Landrum lies contiguous wilderness, green space that we can wander, explore, and just enjoy being in, thanks to these past and present conservation champions. Here is the bridge over the Middle Saluda River in Jones Gap State Park on trail number 1, the Jones Gap Trail. The preservation efforts by Tommy White to create the Mountain Ridge Wilderness and the land bridging between the Table Rock Watershed and the Poinsett Reservoir on the east with the Table Rock Watershed on the west. This is from, of course, from where we get our Greenville water, which is well known and excellently rated. This gave us not only Jones Gap State Park, but Caesar's Head State Park and the Middle Saluda River as the first designated scenic river. In Tommy's words, we in Greenville are fortunate to have special place close by. Here one can experience these feelings I have tried to describe. The solitude of deep forest, the thrill of thunderous waterfalls, the breathtaking panorama from a cliff top, the startled gasp when a grouse explodes into your presence from underfoot, or the simple childlike pleasure of sipping from a cool, bubbling creek. Tommy White's conservation creed was a few special places preserved for the future. And we're the lucky recipients of that. Another very special place in our upstate that we're fortunate to have had citizens with the foresight to look into it and preserve it. Of course, Jocassee Gorges. As National Geographic called it, one of 50 of the world's last great places, destinations of a lifetime. It lies primarily in South Carolina. Bill's photograph here captures the iconic view known as Jumping Off Rock. This spot overlooks South Carolina and North Carolina's spectacular natural retreat. Jocassee Gorges received preservation status because a greater number of diverse species are found here than any other place in the United States. Little South Carolina is home to more species of salamanders and ferns than any other state. And we have more tree species than all of Europe. We are indeed blessed with our natural environment. During the last several years, it's been documented that Lake Jocassee has become the winter home of a flock of common loons. These loons breed and nest during summer in Alaska and then fly south for the winter. Earthwatch joined forces with Kay and Brooks Wade of Jocassee Lake Tours to analyze these flocks. Research discovered that Jocassee's climate and enticing food supply offer a favored place for the loons' winter molt and their retreat. Each year they return here, saving energy formerly used to fly to Florida lakes. On a recent trip, we also discovered that bald eagles have now made their home on Jocassee Gorges. I actually counted 12 when I was there on one of the Lake Jocassee tours. And definitely Jocassee's Most famous native species found nowhere else in the world is Shortia placifolia, or our Oconee bell. I am sure many of you enjoy the wonderful spring festival, Bellfest, held each year at Devil's Fork State Park on Lake Jocassee, which celebrates this endemic species. South Carolina has the largest complex of public land in the eastern United States. Our southern Blue Ridge Mountains, part of the Appalachian chain, and among the oldest mountains in the world, drop as much as 2,000 vertical feet from mountain ridges to Piedmont valleys. Native Americans who first made their homes here called the escarpment the Blue Wall. The blue haze results from hydrocarbons emitted by the hardwood trees, which interact with the atmosphere and cause the blue haze. One hydrocarbon, isoprene, actually protects the trees from extreme heat. The Blue Ridge Parkway runs 439 miles through the Blue Ridge Mountains, offering incredible views of the escarpment, especially in autumn, as we're lucky enough to be entering now. Opened in 1983, the Lynn Cove Viaduct completed the scenic highway. Built as a concrete segmented bridge, it snakes around Grandfather Mountain to protect the native environment. It was designated as a National Civil Engineering Landmark. Nature is incredible. The more we know of its secrets, the greater awe and wonder we experience in feeling its presence. This is, of course, Pretty Place, or Sims Chapel in Camp Greenville. Probably a Native American traveling through the Blue Ridge first exclaimed in his native tongue, "Pretty place." The nickname stuck. Recently, when I was in Caesar's Head State Park in the ranger station there, I heard a lady say, "Pretty Place is the only reason I came to South Carolina." I'm sorry she didn't know more about our state, but to know there were a lot of other wonderful things too. The escarpment provides the dramatic drop in elevation and creates more than 150 waterfalls in South Carolina. These numerous waterfalls offering easy strolls or strenuous long day excursions become favorite destinations and explorations for citizens. On the left here is King Creek Falls, just off the Foothills Trail near Long Creek, South Carolina. Riley Moore Falls near Westminster is in the top. And on the Foothills Trail falls dramatic Bull Sluice on the Chattooga River, where, of course, we know Deliverance was filmed. This is Virginia Hawkins Falls on the Foothills Trail. It's a favorite destination for hikers, and especially the through hikers who are enjoying all aspects of the trail. It's named for the executive secretary of the Foothills Trail Conservancy when the trail was created. I am personally grateful to the surveyor of the South Carolina-North Carolina state line who gifted Table Rock to South Carolina. This view of Table Rock awes many a traveler along Highway 11, including those who never stop to visit. But for those who do visit, Table Rock State Park offers many levels of hiking trails, creek views, wildflowers, a beautiful lake, and a ranger station with a large three-dimensional map of the area, and copies of our book. Photographed here is Table Rock Falls. It's near the beginning of the Table Rock Trail and part of the Foothills Trail along the South Carolina-North Carolina line. Late February and early spring create an excitement in me like the sap rise in the trees. Spring brings an exquisite palette of colorful wildflowers to our mountains, peeping forth on any path you choose. Our hiking club keeps a list of when and where the wildflowers are going to be blooming, and with cameras in our packs, we plan our excursions for those locales. Bill shares here some of the often encountered wildflowers. And this, I think, Janie, is my favorite layout in the whole book. On the left is Pink Lady Slipper. Next to that is Bloodroot. Showy Orchis is the purple and white, sort of near the middle. Dipple trout lily is the yellow at the top. Carolina lily is the orange. Eastern columbine is right there in the middle, the red one. And leather flowers hanging down like a bell. Bee balm is the red one with the spiky blossoms, or spiky petals, I should say. And then we have black-eyed Susan, which most of us recognize. Another favorite plant along our graced wooded paths in South Carolina are one of my favorites, and that's ferns. I love watching the lovely fiddleheads emerge from the springtime trails, wherever I choose to saunter. Many varied types grow in our state. Recently, Patrick McMillan, the former director of the South Carolina Botanical Gardens, identified 3 new ferns unknown before to grow in South Carolina. These were discovered in the Jocassee Gorges, an example of its extraordinary diversity. In 1974, the South Carolina Heritage Trust designated the first Heritage Trust in Greenville and was the first state to create this entity. Under the South Carolina Department of Resources, South Carolina DNR, heritage preserves conserve natural areas and cultural sites, provide resources for scientific research, and reservoirs for natural and historical elements, as well as habitats for rare and vanishing species. Some of the upstate ones that I have explored include Chestnut Ridge, Tall Pines, Bunched Arrowhead, Ashmore, Bald Rock, Eastatoy Creek, Poinsett Bridge, and many others. Here, of course, Bill photographs Poinsett Bridge Heritage Preserve in the snow. And I just read today on the Natural Land Trust website that there are Bunched Arrowhead, which we've had several locations as heritage preserves. There are 2 new locations that they are planning to. One has already been purchased, and the other one is going to be purchased hopefully soon when they raise the money. So that will be an endangered species that is only found in 2 different counties, but will have quite a diverse population here in South Carolina. Another heritage preserve that is so beautiful is Brasstown Creek Heritage Preserve in the Sumter National Forest. It's a lovely 3-tier cascade that flows over 100 feet. I hope you have enjoyed and learned from these photos and descriptions selected from our new book. Our book includes much more, particularly Janie and Steve Marlowe's map, and the appendix at the end of the book will guide you with directions to additional spectacular, tranquil retreats round about Greenville and the Carolina Blue Ridge. We hope to entice you to venture into the natural environment we are so blessed to be able to enjoy. No excursion more than a couple of hours from Greenville, our amazing hometown at the foot of the Carolina Blue Ridge. We hope you'll make your own discoveries among the exquisite diversity of the beauty of our upstate South Carolina. We hope you enjoy your thoughts of their uniqueness and continue to contemplate images kept in your memory. Thank you for allowing me to share some of our favorite excursions discovered round about Greenville and the Carolina Blue Ridge. And don't forget, as I've mentioned earlier, it will make a great Christmas present, particularly if it's bought from a local store. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Pam. I do have a couple of questions I could ask you. Let me try to get those up here, moved over where I can see them now. So you mentioned the Middle Saluda is the first scenic river in South Carolina. Was that the first state scenic river or national?
Yes. No, state.
State designation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't believe it's the first national. I know it's the first state.
Okay. Talked about loons breeding in Alaska. Has it been documented that some of those visit Lake Jocassee?
Yes, that's what that study did. And they found out that, of course, they save energy because they were flying to Florida, but they found such a good food supply there that they've decided to stay.
Okay. That's all the questions I see right now. Does anybody have any more? They would like to put them on the chat box, and I'll ask them before we leave.
And if I need to, I said this one time to some of the people who were there, but not everybody was there, of where the books could be bought.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. In Greenville, all over the Upstate, we've got them in all the state parks. But in Greenville, we've got Appalachian Outfitters, M. Judson bookstore sellers on Main Street, Mass General Store on Main Street, Poppington's is on Main Street, and the Furman Bookstore. Those are some of the places. In Pickens and Easley area, they're at Poor Richard's booksellers, Burgess and Taylor General Store on Pickens Main Street, and Southern Appalachian Outdoor Store on Pickens Main Road. And then in the Clemson area, they're at Elkmont Outfitters, which is both also there and also in Piedmont. And then the South Cove County Park has them, and the South Carolina Botanical Gardens. And Marietta Soda Shop in Marietta, South Carolina, too. I'm not sure I've named them all, but that's some that the book is available in locally.
Okay, I have a few more questions since then. One is, where's a good place to see the lady slippers?
The lady slippers, we'll have to wait till springtime. Several places. One place that I've found them a good bit is DuPont, and what's the trail? Mine Mountain. I've seen beautiful, both pink and yellow there.
I will comment also that you'll probably find them in pines. Usually, their habitat. The pink lady slippers grow in the pine forest.
I had an experience many years ago. I was walking in my neighborhood, less than a mile from my house. I'm towards Furman. I'm on that side of town. And I walked along the street and I looked and I thought, those are pink lady slippers. And there was a huge collection underneath white oak trees that were white pine trees, that were right there. And they were there the next year. And the next year, Duke Power came and trimmed those trees, cut some of them down, and they've never come back since. So they definitely have a relationship to the pine trees.
Mm-hmm. And I got a question about what year did the loons come to Lake Jocassee?
I'm not sure. That study has been done at least for 5 years. So I don't know. Brooks Wade may know. He's the person with the Jocassee.
I have heard Brooks say that when they moved here and from Florida, and that was 2009, I believe, that he was surprised to find the loons out in front where they were camping, which he had seen in the wintertime down there in Florida. And then he was surprised to see him in Lake Jocassee here. So at least since 2009. So the lake has been there since 1973, between 70 and 73. So sometime after 73, they showed up, and before 2009. That's as much as I know about the answer that question.
But aren't we lucky that he was already a loon lover, he had said. And so we were lucky that he realized the value of this and got Earthwatch involved in it so that we could have that record, which is an amazing situation.
And a question of who inspired your interest in nature?
That's an interesting one. I was a Girl Scout, and I think probably my mother, who helped with the troop, and neighbors who gave their time for that. So that's probably where my first interest came from. I don't ever remember a time that I wasn't interested in nature. I'd take walks around my neighborhood. I grew up near Cleveland Park. And so I remember my big thrill was being able to walk home from school my school was up on Toy Street, which is just above the park. And a few times during the year I'd get to walk home, and I'm afraid I got kind of lost going home, especially through the trees and all of Cleveland Park.
And also your book is for sale at Paris Mountain State Park. I think you said it was at all the state parks, right?
Oh, I think we've got all the upstate state parks.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. I think we've got it in all of them. I stopped in Table Rock yesterday to check to see if they had enough books because I'd finished hiking. And I was looking at the big map, which I love to look at because you can see right where you've been and gives you a real perspective. And I went over to ask him about the book, and this lady who actually turned out to be from Florida was standing there, and she came over to me and she said, "Have you published a book?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "I think they're out of it here." Well, sure enough, she found it. They had another place where it was. And so I got to sign her book while I was there. And I think she'll use it to tour around. They evidently had not been to our area before. So that was kind of a thrilling experience.
Well, great job tonight, Pam. We thank you very much.
Thank you. Bill and I'll be looking forward to tourists coming back to Greenville just as much as the Visit Greenville website is, because we'll know we kind of aimed the book at tourists, but it's, of course, that has been a little less than it had been, but we look forward to them coming back. But I'm sure glad locals are interested in it too. So thank you all for the support of letting us come tonight, but also for being interested in the book.
Okay, Virginia, you have anything to wrap up with?